and everything will be fine. I'm sending you much love and light, Michelle.
Thank you, sweetie. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone. I've got the recording started, and just want to say welcome to the Art of Learning Self-Love. And today's topic is how to begin building our emotional confidence. If this is the first time you're working on this, or if you are repairing yourself from the shattered foundation of this, no matter where you are beginning, you can begin to believe in you. Confidence doesn't come from outside of us. It starts within us. So, and confidence comes from practice. It isn't just overnight. We literally have to practice becoming confident, because we have so many times in our life where we are stuck in a dialogue within our mind. And with that dialogue that's going on, I am so glad you are here, Kasha. I feel so honored that you're in my class. Love you, Seth, lady.
Oh, just by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I woke up today at 5. That's why I'm here.
Well, welcome. You're here. What I want to do, though, is I want to take you for that moment there and think about that place of struggle with the process of confidence. So with that place of struggle, I want you to think and close your eyes for a minute. And how many times, once your eyes are closed, I want you to think about this question. How many times in the last 3 days did you build yourself up?
How many times did we have to build ourselves up?
Yes, with your eyes closed, take a moment, and over the last 3 days, Mona, in 3 days,
the last 3 days? How many
without
times?
any answers right now, just taking and closing your eyes, hun, and thinking, just using your mind and thinking, how many times did you build yourself up? And how many times did you tear yourself down? Now go ahead and open your eyes. Each one of us knows exactly where we were during the last 3 days. We know whether or not we built ourselves up or whether or not we tore ourselves down. Whether or not that was a positive or a negative, it is. We can accept that and know that that's where we were. We don't have to continue that if we don't want to, or we can continue it if it is building us and bringing us where we want to go. So what we got to do is begin to start training ourselves each day to take and captivate our own thoughts, bring it captive, and hold on to the thought for a moment and say, okay, is this word bringing me up and lifting me up, or is this word tearing me down and destroying what I'm trying to build? So once we do that, when we take that moment and start thinking about it, we can then begin to build the words I can, I will, I must, I'm able, I'm capable. Or we can, if we have been, we've been hearing the dialogue of I can't, what will they think, it will never work, and the list goes on. We don't have to stay there. We can always change everything and bring ourselves back to the space of confidence and security. Now, I want you guys to think for a moment, how many times have you said, I'm going to try? I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try. Trying is great. However, it's only half-hearted. And when I realized that a try was only half-hearted, I realized I wasn't putting my all into it. And I had to change that. I no longer had to try, I was going to do, because actions speak louder than words. Does anybody have any questions yet?
I was gonna say something. I think try, this just came to my mind, gives us that little window of an excuse. Like, if it doesn't work out, it'll be okay because I tried, you know, versus like I'm going to do it. And then if you say you're going to do it and you don't, then it's failure, right? And we're all so afraid of failing. But what I learned, thank God, is that failing is part of the journey, and there can actually be joy in that redirection, right? Of like, okay, well, I did and it didn't work. So I'm going to try something else. And I find as an entrepreneur, I am constantly tweaking and tuning my doing, my actioning.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. With trying, I found that I have heard so many times in my life, I'm going to do it or I'm going to try this. But I've watched others that were in my life not actually attain those things that they were saying they wanted to try. So I also found myself doing it for many, many years. I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. And I tried myself out of it. A lot of times it was trying my own excuses right out of it, like she said, the excuse, because I could say, well, I was trying. I tried. And it was always in the back of my mind, I always knew I could have given more. I could have done more. I could have, but did I? Didn't always. And because of that, I made excuses of, well, nobody else is doing it, so why should I? And when I finally realized that everything for me to actually come together began when the minute I just surrendered to total service, everything else turned around and came back and met me right where I was. Because then I was now doing the work. I was doing the exercises. I was doing what was necessary. And getting myself to that space actually brought me through and delivered within me the energy to actually bring the enthusiasm to my life so that I could actually begin producing what I wanted, because then I became the director of my own life. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Show us, Kasha. Kasha, what did you have in your hand?
Comment.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I just wanted to say that, if I'm learning all of those things. So, I'm kind of a newbie in this approach. So I really exercise myself into being more conscious of what I'm, telling myself. So I'm not trying anymore. And from this perspective now, I believe that if we are saying that we are trying, we are basically giving 50-50 and kind of like a lottery thing. So it's kind of like we're trying, but we do not really care eventually in case we do lose or we do not achieve that. So giving ourselves that gap into something that we kind of want or really, really want, but yet we are giving ourselves sticker like, oh, that's all right if you don't do it. This is so wrong. And just in the recent weeks, whenever I'm something is going on, I'm like, oh, before I would say I would try it, like, or maybe if I drink glass of water I will, or kind of like this trying, and I'm like, no more of this, I'm doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasha, for sharing that and being so vulnerable in here and actually expressing the fact that you're in that process. Being in that process is tough because we have patterns and behaviors that we normally fall back to. And it's so easy to go back because it's what we're comfortable with. But walking into the unknown and doing something brand new can be challenging. So you always want to make sure that you're getting at somebody that you can be accountable to, holding yourself with someone else so that you can actually achieve where you're going, because then you're sharing that information, but you're also allowing yourself to feel that space of commitment to actually achieve. And that's what the whole thing of making sure that you have a support team. Being in Noble Goldman, we have that support team. And this is really a blessed space for all of us, because no matter what we're going through, no matter what our journey is and our challenges, we have that support team right here. We have our tribe. And it's absolutely amazing because we're growing and developing together. Now, I want to share a little story. It's called You Can Do It. It was quoted by Mary Kay Ash. I used to do Mary Kay Cosmetics years ago. She was actually a space within my life where I wanted to model myself after what an extraordinary woman she was. She created a space for her to market a makeup company that actually went around the whole world. And during the time that she began, it was back in the era of women's lib. She was one of the first women to actually become super capable and able, but with the same thing was teaching others. So she became that role model for me. And it wasn't about the makeup, it was about the teachings and the principles. In the business, her principles are the same as ours, with doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you, living by the golden rule. So for me, that was one of the factors that brought me into this space as well, because it is where we are. We're living by that. So I want to share with you, you can do it. And this was quoted by Mary Kay. You see, years ago, aerodynamic engineers studied this creature, which is the bumblebee, and decided that it simply should not be able to fly. Its wings are too weak and its body too heavy for flight. Everything seems to tell the bumblebee, you'll never get off the ground. But I'd like to think that maybe, just maybe, our divine creator whispered, you can do it. So it did. When I heard that story, I was literally in the midst of domestic violence. That story changed my life. I was in the deepest, darkest pit of my world. I was going home to a space that I couldn't even trust opening the front door because I had no idea what was waiting for me on the other side. And there was so much fear. But when I heard this story, I realized there was hope and that there's just a way to change. And that I knew I didn't have to be weak anymore. And I literally took and began making steps and things, but it was a long process. Oh, Michelle, thank you for sharing. Those days are hard. And if anybody's ever had to experience them, I know that the story comes with a lot of weight and probably some heaviness in your heart. And it's probably some choking in your throat because of your stories had at one point been held back and not being allowed to express. But I'll tell you, when I heard I can do it, you can do it, I realized that with a lot of work, I could make the differences and the changes in my life and do what was necessary. I had to begin to love myself enough to tell others no, love myself enough to stand up and decide to make decisions that were hard, that were not easy. They were really complicated. And I had to go, oh, can I really do this? Is it better to really live on the streets than in this home with someone else? Is it easier to be without and not know where your next meal is coming because you just lost your job because you can't be seen to the public because of what someone else did to you? I mean, there's so much shame behind, then I had to grow out of the shame and find. And that's why building a sense of confidence is so important. building who you are and taking the practice and the training to be able to stand up. And it took words of affirmations for me and encouragement. And I couldn't find that encouragement outside of me. I had to begin finding that encouragement within. I had to begin writing those words for myself because there was not another single soul in the world that was going to come up and give me what I needed because they had no idea what I had experienced. Nobody else can meet us in that painful place except ourselves. You were in that pain. Go ahead, Passionate. Go ahead and say what you just wrote.
So I'm saying that, because you mentioned that, people were there in pain and so many other emotions and so many other, feelings. But for me, I was kind of in pain, but it wasn't painful. I was so confused why things, why. My case was why. But mostly I was numb. I built the walls around myself without windows, with the ceiling, with no window in the ceiling. And I was numb from life for life. Literally, the way how I wrote it, that's what it was. I was like enabled to live my life from being, living in a protective mode of being like, I don't know, like silent in some ways. Thank you.
Well, a lot of times when we go through forms of abuse, we actually believe that we've been trained not to speak about it because we know the consequences that can come from it. Until we get ourselves into that space of protection, we don't feel confident enough to speak out. And that is one of the things, that's why I teach self-love, is because of coming from such a broken, shattered background in my life. Literally, I was this photo. This was me to my core. That was who I once was. And when people meet me today, they are like, there's no way, Darla. There was no way you were ever that shattered. And I'm like, oh yeah. Laying on my floor, wishing I could die. Wishing that the world would just crush me and be done. I was once there. And I can actually sit here now and look back and go, like, it's like a telescope looking way back into my past, going, wow, where I've come from, what I've been through, what I've experienced. But it was not for any other reason, but to be in this space today, to share my story with others, to help them to go on their path, to keep going and moving from the things that keep them limited and bound. And it doesn't matter whether or not it was abuse or whether or not it was a situation that made you question yourself, if it was somebody's bullying at school, or whether or not it was just your own inability to see the truth of who you truly are. It doesn't matter where you're at in that walk. There's something here for everybody to actually be able to grow and develop and become all that they're meant to be. Because you can do it. You do have it within you, but you have to find it. You have to find your passion. You have to find your reason, and you have to find the support system to keep you growing and developing along the way. You are anything you choose to become. And having that ability to teach that wasn't an easy journey, but it was well worth every moment because it taught me so much. And I feel honored. I heard a video this morning on Facebook, and it says, thank you. Thank you for surviving. And I shared it. If anybody goes on my timeline, you can find it. So thank you. If you've been through anything, you need to hear it. Because this morning, even after all of my stuff and all my own healing, I heard that thing this morning and I still needed to hear that. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for thriving. Thank you for coming through what you've come through. Because it's really important that you get to a space where you can begin to build confidence that you need so that you can become limitless. One of the things that I began using in the beginning when I was still struggling was over, under, around, or through. There is not anything that I set my mind to that I am unable to do. I use those words every day until I believed that there was nothing that I could not achieve. If I put myself to it and I choose to do it, I'm capable of achieving it. Because what you dream about and what you think about, you bring about. So if you can dream it, you can become it. When we talk about quantum, this week I was asked, what is quantum to me? And I was like, well, you know, it's the field in which that we work at. It's what I've done. I've made the quantum leap into where I'm at today. Well, I took a moment and I actually went back and studied the word itself, quantum, a discrete quantity of energy proportional in magnitude to the frequency of the radiation it represents. So when I read that, I was like, okay. So I had to read it a couple of times because you don't get it the first time. You probably don't get it the second time, but you got to keep reading it a few times. And then you realize the quantity. So the amount of energy in proportion of the magnitude in frequency. So it's got levels and variance, and it radiates out. So it can go from here to there, wherever you're at. But it's also in regards to the currency of it. It flows, it ebbs and flows. So it is our responsibility to maintain a space of awareness and holding a space of realizing the power that we possess through quantum. That is the current that we use and the energy and the system that we use to create the very things that we wish to create. So I want you guys to think for a moment about your favorite affirmation or your statement or your phrase, however you want to use that word for what it is to build you. Your building word, what you use as your building block. You could be having the worst moment in your life, but if you say these words, it can pick you up. What is it for each and every single one of you? And I want you to think about that, those few words for just a minute, and then I want you to share them. Let me know when someone's ready.
I can try. I can start if you want, Darla.
Okay. Yeah, so what I was asking, whenever somebody was ready to go ahead and step up,
Yeah.
what you're doing is just sharing the words you use. When you're in a low vibration, what do you use to pick yourself up and bring yourself to another vibration?
I am divinely protected and guided at all times to take the right steps and right decisions in my life.
And you use this often?
No, I just it just came up to my mind right now because your question was what affirmation can you use to rebuild yourself? So I never thought about this like to see it this way, but it's a very good way to put it because you know we all get triggered at some stage of our life, and especially now with all the change in universe, we are triggered from time to time because some things come back to the surface that need healing.
Mhm.
So this is very helpful to have positive affirmation to say when we are in triggered or low mode, or, you know, to rebuild ourselves up.
Exactly. Make sure you write it down so you think about it
Yeah,
often.
I'm doing it right now, exactly.
And Gladys, would you be willing to,
Sure.
how are you
Hi,
doing?
Moon.
Hey, Gladys, hey.
Yeah, so I actually was gonna volunteer next, so this is great. So when I find myself in a very, very difficult position, which those tend to fall in my family at me, I always try, because I know that if I freak, I'm gonna lose it and I'm holding all the balls in the air. I say to myself, this is only temporary. I know that I'm going to get out of this successfully, as I always do. And then I close my eyes and I visualize myself out of that situation magically, because something just, the universe just put things in the right place so that this solution could be solved fast and give me that warm feeling that everything's going to be okay. And that works magically in a time of crisis, which I have learned to deal with very well. And I have started using visualization to create my own reality, and it is working immediately. The other day I was at Home Goods and I wanted these glasses, and I said, oh, I wish there were more than 2. If there were 4, I would take them. And I turned around and the other 2 were on the other rack. And I was like, yay.
It's amazing what we can create once we get into the right vibration.
Exactly.
We can create anything.
That's all it is. Anything.
It's just a new world, and every day is a new adventure.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
We have to stay light at all times, even though it's difficult. We have to stay love and forgiving, first with ourselves and with others, which is sometimes difficult to do when we're triggered or hurt. But this is the right way to be, is simply to be love and light with everyone, and to be forgiving.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Michelle, go ahead.
So I got this from Louise Hay years ago, and I haven't had to use it because I haven't felt really unsafe. But it's my go-to. Out of this situation, only good will come. Out of the situation, only good will come. It's in the highest good of all concerned. All is well, and I am safe. I use that over and over and over and over again, like throughout my life. And then, 5 years ago, when I shut the door on my domestic violence, I went through a lot of chaotic experiences after that, and I used that constantly. And I used it at first to try to manipulate people. And what ended up happening was I realized that it just felt so good in that space. So I stopped expecting people to change and just found that it helped me like get into my bliss bubble. I call it my bliss bubble. Abraham calls it the vortex. And so it didn't matter what was happening around me. I felt good no matter what. It was like I was in that protective bubble. And it really changed my life in so many ways. I have a couple of phrases that I've used throughout my life that are just amazing.
Please share them with us, Michelle.
Yes, absolutely.
While she's gathering, Joe, did you have anything?
I walked away a second. What are we sharing?
We are sharing what words we use to lift ourselves in our vibration. Say that you have a circumstance and a situation that you are coming to and you're in a low vibration, or you're getting ready to go out into the world and you know you need to rise your vibration. What are the words you use to lift yourself up?
I have quite a few affirmations written on sticky notes posted on my wall over here. Without looking, I'd have to say two of the ones that I use the most are I am more than enough, and I am willing to experience a little more love every day. And one of those or both of those used on a daily basis has really helped me to be myself, be present with who I am. Granted, I have a past like many of us do, but it allows me to move forward from that past and not allow those old beliefs to consistently sink in and try and wreak havoc. So it helps me to step away from those old beliefs. Not as good as I'd like to on a daily basis, but like a medical doctor, I'm always practicing.
Exactly. And Kesha,
So, it seems like you guys are so sophisticated. Mine are like more simple. I have this actually picture here in front of my computer. I mean, behind my computer, that there's like moon, and it says "Make your own magic," and I write on the glass, on the frame. I have my simple and quick mantra: "You are so lucky. My life, my design."
Also, if I may add, Kasha, I was thinking another way to raise our confidence is a method you are using that you have shared with us a couple of months ago, is simply to wear that crown, that invisible, to wear our invisible crown at all times, and to imagine wings on our shoulders, or even get real wings, like, to to raise your confidence. I thought that was also a very good method that you use.
I did it actually for you, Mona, at the time when I created that heart with the diamond and the wings, and I started wearing it kind of to show you that it's really working. And so I don't know if you tried it or not, but it did give me a extra boost. And
Absolutely.
and then I don't remember exactly the date, but within the NG uh, workouts, that's what we are doing here. I had one visualization when I saw this angel, and that angel actually came into my body through my crown, and got in, and the wings, they just came through my hands, and I became that angel. So I don't need to stick those wings anymore into my forehead to remind me about that.
That's awesome.
And
I didn't do it, but I imagine it like I imagine the invisible crown and invisible wings,
Well,
I sell dresses with wings.
it doesn't take part.
I'm gonna go ahead, guys, and pull this back because was waiting on Michelle. So we're gonna go ahead and go back to Michelle real quick because she went ahead and added some stuff to the chat, and she gathered up the information Mona asked for.
Excellent. Awesome.
oh, so did
Thank
you,
you, Michelle.
Carla? I just put them in the chat.
Okay, go ahead, Mona, and look down in the chat. And I appreciate you, Michelle, for grabbing those up and putting them in.
Thanks so much, Michelle.
Absolutely. You guys are welcome. I love you all.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you guys the one I use when I'm going out into the world, and it doesn't matter what's going on. If I got up in the morning, the cat did this, things fell over, I dropped my coffee, the whole world is coming to an end, and there's a meltdown on its way. Instead of actually having the meltdown, I stop and I take a deep breath and I go, okay, regardless of the situation outside of me, I am perfectly made in all of my ways. Doesn't matter what's going on around me. I am perfectly made in all of my ways. As soon as I remember those words, I am perfectly made, I immediately remember I don't have to explode. I don't have to react. I don't have to have the explosion. I can go, oh, I'm perfectly made in all of my ways. And with that, it allows me to go from this negative down at the bottom, everything's going to fall apart, whole world, because the anxiety levels have climbed and everything else. It literally takes that and brings it all the way back down and brings it in. And I can go, oh, now I can just go face my day because I am perfectly made in all of my ways. And whenever I'm out and about and different things come along, I don't have to anymore entertain the explosive behaviors that I was taught, that I had to respond to because I didn't have any space outside of me to do anything else. I had to learn that I could change that. Yes, ma'am. Michelle, go ahead. Your hand is raised.
That was a residual. I forgot to lower it.
Oh,
But I
okay.
love that. That's so perfect. Like,
Perfectly made in all of my ways.
way to take a step back. And once you come to that peace within yourself, your world starts reflecting that. And it can happen instantly in the
Mhm.
quantum field, right? Wow, Darla, I have huge goosies. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Use it
I want,
every time.
I
Go
want to
ahead.
share. So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
say everything is perfect. So I mean, obviously it's great to say I am perfect, but what I'm trying to say to myself is if things didn't go exactly as you planned, it's because they needed to happen exactly as they did for some reason that you will find out really soon.
Absolutely. I love that.
Well, we
And
have
that totally changes my perspective.
awesome. We have come to the end of discussion. I wanted to actually take you guys through the fountain. Every time I do a class, I take you through fountain work, where you can actually take no matter what it is this week that has been bothering you, no matter what it is in your story that you want to separate yourself that is not truth. I want you to take that information and bring it into the fountain. What we do in the fountain is we go in, we step in, we allow ourselves to be submerged in the water and the cascading light waters that come down from the fountain into our crown, through our body and out to be dispelled into the ground so it no longer has to affect us. Come back in and restore it back through our body because there's a whole step of it, bringing it back up and through and then returning to us what's rightfully ours. So what I want to do is I want you to take the moment right now and think about those 3 days, this last 3 days. And if there was anything in the last 3 days or this last week that you're not so proud of, that you just don't want to hold on to anymore, that you just wish you could release and let go of, that you keep coming back to in your mind. Yes, ma'am. I love your little props.
Why 3 days?
3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 years.
Okay. I was just curious if there's
Anything that
something
comes up.
magical about 3 days.
Anything that comes up. I was just thinking back to the beginning of the conversation in the call. I had said, think back to the last 3 days, any space that you were in that you may have been thinking negative. So taking those negative thoughts into the fountain, washing them away, and actually allowing yourself to be replaced with the positive. So I want you to go ahead, and now I want you to close your eyes, bring your eyes down, and go ahead and think about that fountain in front of you and in the garden. You're standing in a garden, and before you is a fountain. This fountain is massive. I want you to go ahead and step up to this fountain and step up and into the waters. As you step into the waters, I want you to feel those waters circulating around your body. As you can feel them just climbing around you, that cooling sensation of the water around you. I want you to go ahead and see and imagine that fountain flowing and cascading down in front of you. You can even hear the waters as they hit. I want you to go ahead and step forward and into that flow and allow that flow to come into the crown of your mind and wash away anything that does not need to remain. You know your stories, you know the circumstances and the situations that you've been through. And I want that waters to come in and cleanse and heal and restore those spaces within your mind. Let it wash it through your body, come down into your jaw, into your throat, into your shoulders, down your arms, into your fingertips, back up and into your heart. Take any vibrational story that goes along with these thoughts and pull them out from your heart, down into your abdomen, into your root, into the thighs, into the calves, and into your feet. And I want you to set this down deep into the ground. Let this light just continue to wash, 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 all the way out of you and into the ground, as far away from you as possible. Because the story doesn't have to remain. You have the right to wash this clean. When you're ready, go ahead and bring that light back up. Just the light, leave the story behind. Bring the light into your feet, into your calves, into your thighs, into your root, into the sacral, the solar plex, the heart, the shoulders, down the arms into your fingertips, back up into your throat, into your jaw, up into your mind, and back up into the heavenlies. And while it's up in the heavenlies, I want you to go ahead and ask for what is rightfully yours to be restored to this space within your mind so that you can be healed and restored and have total transformation. Bring back into the light, allow it to cleanse and restore into the mind, into the jaw, into the throat, allowing the story now to be changed so that you can speak life into you, into your shoulders, down your arms, into your fingers, back up into your heart. Let this overwhelming feeling of joy come back to you. Let there be laughter and healing, prosperity and abundance down into your solar plex, into the sacral, into the root and the truth of who you are, into the thighs, into the calves, and into the feet. We're going to go ahead and bring this right back up through our body, into the calves, into the thighs, into the root, but this time up the spine, up into the shoulders, down your arms, into your fingertips, back up into the throat, into the jaw, into the mind. And as it releases out of you, go ahead and be thankful for it, because that healing is rightfully yours. When you're ready, go ahead and come back. I know that that is really private and personal. If you'd like to share, you can. And it's perfectly fine if you're not ready.
I'll share.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have a really large hernia in my stomach that doesn't allow me to sleep flat. And I've been dealing with it because I know it's stress and a bunch of emotions. And when I do that exercise, which I've done it before, the getting in under a waterfall, I connected with, so this is how I connect with higher and Mother Nature. I hold hands like Avatar. You know how the Avatar would hold the hand of the, so I do that for the top and I do that for the bottom as well. And what I do is I use that white light to push against that rock to make it burst so that it would disintegrate and would leave. And I think that today I made a breakthrough with making it disappear. So amen.
Oh, I want you to keep telling me your story. Make sure that you keep following up, because that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I
I am
think that today we
believing
made a
with you
breakthrough.
right now that healing is taking place.
Yeah, so I got the chills and my lip was twitching. And when my lip twitches, that means that I'm doing something heavy. So,
Super
so
excited.
it was really amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Oh, how exciting. Anybody else today? Like I said, it was perfectly fine if nobody else wanted to share today, and I understand. Because when we go into the fountain, we're dealing with some real feelings, emotions, and circumstances within, and the vibrational stories sometimes can be so heavy. If anybody needs anything outside afterwards, you know that I'm available. You guys can contact me at any time. I would love to be available to help you to continue your journeys. I know that we are at the hour, so I appreciate you all for being here today, and I hope that today has transformed, rearranged, and helped bring you through to another level of transformation. Thank you so much.
So very grateful to your session. Thank you so much,
Thank
Darla,
you.
and everyone here. I'm sending all my love and light to everyone.